in 2021 to discuss the way forward and to design that post-2020 strategy. So really thank you again for being part of all of these calls and making the time to make sure that we can really design the strategy together. So today our presentation is, our meeting is going to be on national integration and strategizing social campaigns. I'm very excited for the meeting today. It's going to be quite interactive. So be ready to contribute, to type your questions into the chat, and to just put up your hand and share a comment whenever you like. So we've got, as you can see, 3 speakers today. The first speaker will be Tillmann Guenther from UNICEF Ethiopia. Tillmann is an adolescent development specialist in the education section at UNICEF. We've been working with Tillmann throughout this year on a project with World Vision Ethiopia. It's been really exciting, a life skills curriculum for displaced context, and we're really looking forward to his presentation. We're going to be talking a little bit about the curriculum review process as one of the steps in national integration. We'll also be joined by, we'll also have a presentation from Fatou Bitaye, which I'm sure all of you know very well as an Aflatoun partner, and she's working at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education in the Gambia. She's going to be talking to us a little bit about some of the steps in the actual implementation of the national curriculum that the Gambia has gone through. So she's been overseeing and coordinating the implementation of the entrepreneurship curriculum and working actually with partners ChildFund and also with UNICEF in the Gambia for the implementation of certain projects. And then finally, we'll have Hannah Roditi, so the executive director and co-founder of Social Movement Technologies, who will be talking to us a little bit about strategizing social campaigns, so how to use and leverage social media, the internet for us to really get the message out about what we're doing. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. Here's what the agenda is going to look like. So first we're going to have, as I said, our colleague Tillmann speaking, and then Fatou, and then we'll have a short break and then just get everybody back energized again. I know these sessions can be long and we've had a lot of them throughout the last few months, so we'll just get everybody back on track, and then finally we'll finish off with Hannah's presentation. And then just to close, we'll have some closing remarks just from our regional board representative, Patricia Formadi, which we all know very well, just to wrap up the year a little bit and talk about some of the things that we've done and some of the things that we want to do next year. So yes, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Tillmann for a presentation on curriculum review.
Thank you so much, Tidjane. I hope that you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Good. I'm ready. Thank you very much, Tidjane, and good morning and good afternoon to everybody from wherever you're joining. My name is Tillmann Guenther. I'm the Adolescence Development Specialist with the country office UNICEF Ethiopia, and I'm extremely excited today to speak to you about the whole aspect of integrating life skills into curricula. Questions, I think, revolve around scale. Why are we doing this? What are our goals here? Sustainability is another issue. Coordination is yet another, and I'll touch upon them in, I don't know, the next 10, 15 minutes. I've prepared a few slides on this, but it's generally also going a little bit beyond of what we're doing here very concretely in Ethiopia, some general reflections, because I've been using this opportunity, the invitation by Aflatoun, to actually pause a little bit and reflect myself on what have we been doing, not only as UNICEF, but also me personally in other capacities prior to joining UNICEF, in the whole arena of life skills promotion and eventual then striving as a development partner together with the governments that requested our technical support in taking this ideally to the next level and seeing how can we integrate this into the curriculum. First slide, please, Tidjane. Or am I supposed to do that?
Oh, so I think it's a bit of a delay, sorry.
No problem.
Can you see the slide?
I see the first slide. Can you go to the, yes, so the first one. So taking life skills to scale through integration. So UNICEF has been here to give you a little bit of context, been privileged to be called upon by the Ministry of Education, with whom, as in many other countries, we've been working very, very closely for decades. We've been called upon to support them technically and financially in their general education curriculum review process, right? And so as part of that, the first step was last year together with Cambridge Assessment International Education to support the ministry in a very, very comprehensive review of the existing general education curriculum. And within that very, well, I think it was 5-6 month long review process, we also undertook a survey with learners, a survey with teachers, and of course, a lot of other stakeholder engagements. And so it became very clear, as you can see, that among the survey of almost 5,000 learners, there was a very strong need and a very strong desire for them with almost 60% that they would like to see life skills included in the formal education. Right, so that is kind of frames our discussion here to really see that there's a need of primary, secondary school students, that there is a need for life skills. Now the question then is, since this is part of the general education curriculum reform process and the review, but taking actually a step back, and I think this is where my first slide mainly revolves around, is the question, do we integrate, like what kind of integration? What do we mean by that? Whereas we could integrate life skills within the overall general education curriculum, or we could also try to integrate this as a co-curricular activity, as we do it, for instance, right now, among others, also with Aflatoun, and then deliver life skills training through clubs. Gender clubs, girls clubs within the primary and or secondary school. But these are completely two different things. And I think we have the opportunity today, and I'm very much keen on listening also to your views, your reflections on this, your experiences in your countries, is that we're speaking here about two different sets of what integration means with its challenges and with its opportunities, right? So if you look into the ambition of saying, well, we would like to include life skills within the general education curriculum, I think as we all may agree that a review of a general education curriculum does not take place every year. In many countries, it's an event that takes place once in a decade. And it's a long process, and it's a and as much as it is a political process, it is a technical process. And so there it needs a very, very strong, under the leadership of the respective Ministry of Education, it needs a very thorough understanding of also the how do we bring in the life skills that we would like to see children and adolescents to attain, to acquire throughout. How do we do this, right? How do we reflect that? Because life skills as cross-cutting, they will not be featured in a specific subject that they undergo or being taught at, right? So it will be mainstream cross-cutting in almost every subject across the curriculum, right? So it is the kind of, as I tried to note this down, so say that life skills become a core competency across all subjects in the curriculum. And so we have also multiple opportunities to develop and contextualize it, right? And here, I think we have a very strong requirement for leadership of the government and the Ministry of Education of how itself the ministry would like to see that kind of mainstreaming or cross-cutting, right? I just briefly mentioned it, but let us zoom in a little bit here and say that, well, we need to be explicit of the how, right? And then also, like, how is it being presented, the life skills in the various technical documents that we have as part of overall curriculum review process and curriculum design. It's the syllabi, it's how are the life skills then being reflected in the minimum learning competencies, right? And then very practically moving to this is, at the end of the day, it is the teacher. And I'll address this a bit later on in my presentation. It's the teacher who then, through different methods, through different ways of teaching, is that he or she then tries to, well, bring to the surface those mainstreamed life skills, right? So it needs to be reflected in the teacher guides, but also then in the textbooks, right? And it is very easily written, maybe in a presentation, or said in a talk like this today. However, the work is very, very technical and needs to be done coherently and very thorough. And in many contexts, I think may pose also a tall order challenge for all actors involved. So it needs, I think, a very clear description of what kind of life skills, what kind of skills and competencies, what do we want to get out of that, right? Across not only the subjects, so the knowledge that is being delivered, but also then the values across all the subjects. So here, but it promises, once all this is done very well, and especially coherent across all the multiple steps in a reform process, we have a very high likelihood for high scalability of life skills, right? Because it is being then implemented at primary and secondary school levels across the board in a given country, right? But it's also a long route to get there. The other opportunity, and many development partners, but also ministries, opt for that because of the fact that a general education curriculum process does not happen annually. They see how can we still, while maybe the next review is scheduled for about 5 years or 7 years from now, they see, but what can we do in the meantime? Right? What can we do in the meantime to deliver life skills to children, as we see that there is an incredible need, and as this has not been yet mainstreamed in the general education curriculum. So we opt in many countries, and so for now we have also done with Aflatoun and with World Vision to see how can we deliver life skills as co-curricular activities through the clubs. Right, through the gender clubs, through the Aflatoun clubs, as we also call them. And so we have something separate, and it's something separately developed. And I think here the mechanism is different because, yes, we develop the life skills curricula under the overall leadership and technical guidance from the Ministry of Education. But I'm getting to this in also my next slide. What level at the Ministry of Education, or is it actually the federal, or is it the regional level, right? Who is in charge here of the specific education? Is it primary or secondary? Is that we develop that, but then often it is also then approved by the education authority while it is being developed, let's say, by UNICEF and Aflatoun. So the process of developing life skills curricula is different because we do have it separately here. There may or may not be linkages to the general education curriculum. It's learning, minimum learning competencies, the syllabus, the teacher guides, and the textbooks. So we have actually those developed separately. Right, so we have, of course, a teacher training manual developed for the life skills delivered through co-curricula. We have the life skills curricula itself, but they're separate, right? And I think overall, as a last point here, it's the participation of the children is in many contexts voluntary. So they have the choice between 1, 2, or 3 different co-curricular activities that the general education curriculum prescribes, but they have a choice of whether they would like to use that co-curricular activity as, for instance, then the life skills training, right? So here, then talking about the scale, I think it depends, I think, very much also on the uptake of the government education authority in question, to what extent is this then being rolled out in all schools? What are the resources available? What are the capacities here, as it has not been mainstreamed as cross-cutting in the overall education curriculum, right? So here, I think this is something that we always should keep in mind, that at this stage, I believe we have those 2 options. I'm very keen on hearing whether you have come across maybe a kind of a third option in how to integrate life skills and take them to scale, and thereby also, of course, the issue of sustainability, right? Because if we have included those life skills, so to say, as a first attempt or once and for all, in a very coherent way in the overall education curriculum, then we have a very, very strong sustainability here. And if it's rolled out across, so with the co-curricula, I think issues of sustainability, we need to continuously monitor the rolling out, the quality, and thereby also looking at the scale of how many schools we're going to reach. So next slide, please, Tidjane.
It should come in a second.
Great. So here, and I keep the structure throughout the presentation, is to say, okay, what about the coordination issue, right? And what does coordination mean here for the curriculum integration aspect, the cross-cutting, and what does the coordination mean as co-curriculum, right? Here with our ambition to integrate life skills. So as I said earlier, usually the general education curriculum process does not happen frequently. And it is, and now coming in from also a development partner perspective, is that it's usually 1, maximum 2 development partners that have been proactively approached by the Ministry of Education in question to support technically and financially that process. In Ethiopia, we consider ourselves, UNICEF, very, very privileged that through our long-standing relationship with the Ministry of Education here and the support and the mutual cooperation that they have entrusted us to support them in that process. But that means that all the other strong development partners out there, they are not in a position to then influence that process with the ambition now for our particular issue, among all the other issues that are important in such a reform process, is to mainstream life skills, right? So even in that context, there are competing interests, of course, within an education reform process. Here in Ethiopia, there are thoughts now in how also to bring in, for instance, entrepreneurship thinking, right? And so at the end of the day, you're challenged with the fact that you don't want to overload the curriculum and the contents and the subjects and make it overly complicated, because at the end of the day, it still needs to be delivered by the teachers. They need to be trained, but I'm getting to this in a second, right? So agriculture, for instance, in Ethiopia is also an issue where now the ministry said, well, we're still a very highly dependent economy on the agricultural sector, where a significant part of the population lives in the rural space and earns their livelihood somehow around agriculture. So let's maybe feature this also more prominently. Or certain values or particular to Ethiopia that they would like to see surfacing more strongly. So it is in that context that also life skills competes so to say, right? What gains the prominence in that reform process? And then we have only one partner to advise that or to kind of support that. So that's a kind of a coordination issue here. Whereas if you look at it, that also in my personal experience and prior professional work is that if you look at NGOs, UN agencies, bilateral partners, that when they offer a life skills training project, they're always being asked by the donor for sustainability. And you see then I would imagine if you would take all the project documents available in Ethiopia or any other country by a development partner, whether it's together with a ministry or not, that they have the sustainability clause and they may address all of them at the same time, the sustainability almost identical in stating that they strive to integrate life skills into the general education curriculum, right? But this means that you have a range of actors all striving for the same thing, whether there's actually a reform process ongoing or not, and also sometimes maybe forgetting that just one development partner approaching then the ministry and say, well, we've got a very, very strong proven and empirically tested life skills curriculum. Can we just simply quickly integrate it into the national curriculum? That's not going to happen, right? So that's a very, very big challenge. And I think it needs also a very strong timing and coordination among the development partners itself. So in terms of agreeing that some may actually say, well, we may not actually fulfill that sustainability outcome that we would like to see because it's not going to happen, right? The larger reform process is currently not happening, and it's not as easy as the statement being written in the project document. So this is something that I've reflected upon and I've come across a few times, and I questioned myself on this. It says like, well, if everybody really puts this in to their project documents, well, not only how many different life skills curricula we have, but also how many different development partners we have to strive regular for this type of integration. So the coordination issue when it comes to the co-curricula, I think here it is very context specific. So I will focus a little bit more here on Ethiopia, saying that who is in charge for what type of education. So in Ethiopia, we have that the regional governments are in charge of delivering and developing also the teaching and learning materials for primary school. We will see how this will look like after the reform process, but at this stage, it's the regional government within the federal system, and the federal government is then in charge of taking the lead on secondary education. So here, then the co-curriculum would be that we develop with Aflatoun the curricula, and if we have the age group of primary school age children, which goes until 14 here, is that we know any life skills curricula as co-curricula, we would approach the regional government, right? And I think here, and then also having it as a co-curricula, there's a much maybe faster or also stronger engagement because it's much more direct. We are within the region of where then the schools at the local level are. We have a much stronger linkage here, and maybe also in terms of time and the flexibility to propose those changes to the regional government, encouraging and supporting them to take on life skills, maybe even as a first step. While we wait for the general education reform process, to begin in a few years' time, but to deliver something to children and adolescents now, to encourage them to take on the life skills training through the co-curricular mechanism, right? So you may end up actually, if you have multiple regions, whether it's a federal system or not, but you have regions and they have the authority, is that you may end up with Aflatoun, maybe presenting 2 or 3 regions of the life skills curricula. You may have Save the Children or others then providing their life skills curricula because they just had the opportunity of working at a given time with the regional government here. So since they all more or less, I think, address the 12, global or 13 global life skills, but their approaches may be different. Or their philosophy of teaching, whether it's active learning methodologies and so on and so forth. So these are just a few thoughts and a few reflections. Tidjane, I know my time is up in about 5 minutes, and you know me that whenever I get excited, I keep on talking. So please, last slide.
There you go.
So I think, again, having the same structure of curriculum integration and co-curriculum integration, what does it mean? And I think this is a fundamental issue here, the teachers, because at the end of the day, the teachers need to or are the ones who are delivering on that promise of integrated life skills, whether it is in the curriculum or whether it is through co-curricula. So here, we need to not forget that the teachers themselves need to receive a life skills training and a comprehensive one, not necessarily through the cascading approach, but it needs to be mainstream. So we need to change the teacher education at their respective teacher colleges itself, which is a significant and technical and long-term undertaking itself. Right, so this is a major task to reform the teacher training curricula of a given country itself. Then the gradual training of those teachers on it, because we cannot assume that the teachers coming from a society where there is a strong need for life skills development at scale and in an integrated and systemic manner, that they possess all those skills already beforehand, right? So they need to learn this themselves. And I think this is something we need to keep in mind. And similar, of course, than the training, if we want to roll it out through co-curricula, I think we all have been practicing and delivering the TOTs through this cascading trainings, and one trains the other. But I think we all have, with recent publications, seen that there are limitations to that. Then in terms of quality, in terms of impact, and I think there's a demand, and I'm also, again, keen to hear your views on this, is maybe what's next, of how can we improve the cascading trainings, especially for co-curricula. And then not to forget, since the teachers often will provide life skills training in addition to their subject matter courses that they offer, the question is, am I being recognized for this, right? And how does this recognition look like? Do I get more money? Do I get a specific award recognized by the regional government or by the federal government that I'm a life skills trainer, right? So to keep me on going. And I think we need to be very honest about that critical issue, especially now in COVID times where schools have reopened, and due to some the rules and regulations put forward by the governments, often restricting the participation of children to a number of 20 to 25 within a classroom, are they still in a position after running maybe 2 or 3 shifts per day to simply accommodate the number of returning children in school and adolescents, to then also offer a life skills training, I don't know at what time, 6 or 8 o'clock in the evening when they're sheerly exhausted, right? So these are things, again, that we may take into consideration. The last point, and yes, Tidjane, I'm about to close, is that, of course, in the long run, sustainability and scalability depends, and we should not underestimate that, is the community demand. In my experience is that once family members, caretakers, the community has seen the positive impact the life skills training has on children, that they, in order to sustain that we need to create and keep this momentum of saying, yes, we would like to continue to have our children having the option of life skills training through clubs and schools. So it is to put effective pressure also on school leadership, on their regional governments, and other political actors here, right? So that there is a continuation and a positive feedback mechanism. So I think all in all, what we've seen is that life skills, taking them to scale and looking into the sustainability of that, it's a systemic issue. We're touching upon many different areas, whether it's teacher training, whether it's community engagement, whether it is the reform process, and then kind of deciding the level of where we're going to mainstream and integrate life skills. And I think it's all for us an incredible learning journey as well of why we go. And I'm very keen on hearing your views on this to continue the reflection process with you together. Thank you so very much. And great on being part of this today.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Tillmann, for that presentation. It was really interesting. I'm glad you brought up actually the aspect of recognition for teachers. That's actually something we had a discussion about last year at the international conference, really trying to see, whether it's some kind of certification system or just some way of incentivizing them to further to do this kind of teaching. So glad you brought that up. I'm gonna pass it over to Diana. I'm sure everybody by now knows Diana very well, the program support officer who's been helping me out with every single one of these sessions for some question and answers.
Thank you, Tidjane, and thank you, Tillmann. It was super interesting. I think it speaks to the experience of many of the participants here. If anyone has a question, feel free to write it down on the chat, or you can also unmute yourself.
Definitely. All right, great. Well, thanks for the presentation again, Tillmann. I think that was really insightful, and thanks for the comments from Flavio and Albasu and all of the questions. We're going to move on to the next presentation, which is from our colleague Fatou Bitaye from the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education in the Gambia. She'll be talking to us a little bit about some of the projects they've been working on in terms of the overall implementation of financial education, social financial education and entrepreneurship into the national curriculum. Fatou, the floor is yours. I'll get the presentation up for you now.
Hello over there.
Hi Fatou.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Nice being with you. As Tidjane says, my name is Fatou Bitaye. I work for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, and I'm in the Unit of Curriculum Directorate. I am happy to join you today in this Zoom meeting to share and learn with you how the integration of Aflatoun is done in the Gambia. So I will just look at the presentation outline, and we intend to make it short. Next slide, Tidjane.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just an information about Fatou Bitaye, and I enjoy having that fireball with you. Okay. So the presentation outline, I would just want to talk about the integration of Aflatoun into the school curriculum, but it will be of help to have a short introduction of how Aflatoun was introduced into the Gambia. And then later we'll see some of the projects that are being supported by UNICEF, and we'll see how these projects are. So quickly, I'll go to the introduction of the Aflatoun in the Gambia. Tidjane, next slide. Next slide, please.
The introduction, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the introduction of Aflatoun in the Gambia started way back in 2010 with ChildFund the Gambia, in collaboration with the Aflatoun Secretariat and the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. So it started as a pilot in 18 of our lower basic schools. These are children from age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in one of the regions, it was only a pilot in one of the regions. But mind you, there was no baseline done. So we'll come to that later. And once this was done, ChildFund was providing some incentives to both teachers and students, and also a group of people we call cluster monitors. These are people that normally helps in the monitoring of the schools, okay? So ChildFund provided all that, and then after some years, the project was reviewed. We call it review because there was no baseline, so we can't say we are going to compare before and after. So that was one of the challenges, and that was one of the fallbacks that we had. So we had to do a review to see, to have to do a review to share with stakeholders. So shortly after that review, there was a stakeholder meeting that we had. Next slide. And Aflatoun International, we are present. So the summary of the review or the findings of the program was that, it is not necessary that all the learning areas should host child social and financial education. It is logical and it makes sense to integrate it into where it is necessary. And it is a very good concept, and the contents are also up to date and they are very relevant to the targeted group. So it was suggested that we go in for the infusion. In the infusion, because as the guy from Nigeria says, the curriculum is overloaded. We have a lot of subjects, so it was not possible to have child social and financial education as a separate subject. So the best thing to do was to infuse it into the relevant subjects, or to integrate it into the relevant subject. So it also, another suggestion or other thing that came out of the stakeholder meeting was, we also need to engage the Gambia teachers training to build up their pedagogy in service and pre-service level. So these were the main things that came out of that stakeholder meeting. We go in for infusion. Well, what does infusion mean? That means it has to be integrated into the relevant subject, because it cannot stand as a lone subject. And also engage the Gambia College, both pre-service and in-service. And as you can see, that was the guy in the middle on your right is the director of ChildFund, Musukoba. And then you can see one of the other picture is trying to see the activities, trying to introduce the teams to the participants. And also the representative from the Aflatoun International was also there. So once this was done, then the ministry has to think of what to do now. Since we cannot have it as a standalone subject, and it is something that is of value, it is something that that the content is very relevant, it's important, and it's to develop the child. So what do we do as a ministry? So we work on the Aflatoun International recommendation, which I have just highlighted, to integrate it, and also to work with the Gambia Teachers Training College, and also to integrate CSFE into the national curriculum, and then think about practical things that can be done so that every child is not left behind. So this were the thinking of the ministry, and then we say, if we are to integrate, what do we do? How do we integrate? What do we integrate? And where do we integrate? So these are very key questions that one has to ask him or herself if you are to integrate. What are you to integrate? Where are you to integrate? And how are you to integrate? So these were questions that we are used, and this is what helped us to start integrating the Aflatoun content into the national framework. So from there, we think about it and said, well, it's good that we go in for the integration. So we started. Now we take the recommendations that we are shared from the stakeholder meeting in which the representative of Aflatoun were there, ChildFund was there. The teachers that were doing the pilot were there. Some of the students that were part of the pilot were also there. Some of the representatives of the members of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education were there. We have people like the curriculum, we have people like the life skill unit, we have people like the gender unit, we have people like special need units, you know, we have the regional representative, because all of them have a stake in the integration. So we invited them and share with them what we had from this stakeholder meeting. So once that was done, we think about how do we go about it, or what do we do? So we are blessed that we are still into the review of our curriculum. It's still not concluded. You know, curriculum review normally is a process. It's a process. It takes time. So what we did was we looked at our national curriculum framework, which helps us to direct a policy sort of how do we implement curriculum in the Gambia. So that is a very important document wherein you know that if the Aflatoun is integrated, whoever is to implement curriculum, you will come across it. The second thing is we looked at our relevant subjects. Now, whoever passed through those subjects, you will have the opportunity to do child social and financial education. So basically we said we look at the documents, and the documents that we integrated was the national curriculum, and we also have the entrepreneurship curriculum framework. And I just want to talk about though it's not our focus of this presentation, but I just want to talk about the entrepreneurship framework, because the entrepreneurship curriculum framework came as a result of, or we can say all the content that we use to develop the entrepreneurship framework came as a result from the experts that we have, those teachers that we are doing the pilot. They help us to come up with the content, and the content that we have in the entrepreneurship framework is in line with the Aflatoun. So we have the national curriculum framework, we have the entrepreneurship framework, we also have what we call the early childhood development framework. Now in this framework, as somebody was just trying to explain, you know, in the framework, you tell or help ECD teachers as to how to teach, what pedagogy, and all those things. So you will see that during their free play, you can expose the children to different ChildFund teams. For example, if you want them to do spending and is it the other one, budgeting and spending? Is it budgeting and spending, or something the thematic area that deals with spending? Okay, savings and spending. Sorry, savings and spending. Savings and spending. Normally they'll have a corner shop, so you will see to read that some of them will go to the corner shop. So there they will be doing buying and selling, and all buying and spending is all about savings and spending. So from their free time, when they come back to class, you can engage them, and in that.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, yes, we can hear you now.
Am I speaking very fast?
No, I think the sound cut off for a second, but it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
oh. Hello, I think it might have cut off again. Oh.
I think you're muted now, Fatou.
Fatou, can you hear us? We can't hear you right now.
I think she's been muted. You need to unmute her again.
1 second, we're just trying to figure it out. Sorry about that. Okay, I think.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Great.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No problem.
Network in Africa. So just I was talking, I said basically these are the documents in which the child social and financial education is being integrated. The national curriculum, which comprises of the curriculum framework. We have the entrepreneurship framework. We also have the early childhood framework, and into relevant subjects. So these are some of the documents in which the integration is done. So we can quickly look at maybe some of the subjects in which we have integrated, and the integration is still going on. Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the subjects that we have is agricultural science. I will just give an example. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide, Jan. Okay, this is just an example of subjects that the Aflatoun is integrated. You have, for example, agricultural science. Now, in the content role of government in provision of financial supports to farmers. So this is somewhere you know that we will talk about savings and spending, budgeting and planning. You know, here when they are exposed to the content like this, they will be learning about child social and financial education. Now we have rights and responsibilities of entrepreneurs in agricultural development. In as much as they are going to be entrepreneurs, they have rights, but they also have responsibilities. They have right to sell their goods and all those things, but it's also their responsibility to pay tax and all those things. So child social and financial education comes in. Making a plan and developing a budget for small business enterprise as they are in schools, when they are exposed to such, they will still be learning about it. So once it is integrated, you're just learning about it. Now in English language, for example, you can be asked to write about essays, they can debate, they can have a passage that have issues of child social and financial education, and they can be asked question comprehension, they can have quiz, like we intended to have on the Aflatoun Day. We wanted to celebrate, but unfortunately, we all know what happened, the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we have arts and craft, you know, art, drawing, painting, graphic. They can show their skills that they have learned, photography, weaving, and even all those things. And then it's happy to share with you that like one of the students that we have, who was sitting to the grade 9 exams after, you know, going through the child social and financial education, was able to do recycling, you know, using used clothes and here and there to make a very nice shoes. You know, this is what they have learned, and through their, you know, this extra child financing and social network. And what that guy is doing now is doing that after work and is earning some money. And the money that she's earning, she's using that to help herself and also, you know, save her parents from spending much. So it is very, very, very important. So you have auto mechanics, you know, tools, you know, you save resources, you know, you talk about saving resources, buying quality ones. You know, in mathematics, you talk about savings and spending. You can teach them through what, you know, what problems. Tidjane have 5 oranges, you know, you give there 2, how much is left, you know, if you are to buy mango for tomorrow, you know, all this is all about saving, spending, planning, and budgeting. You have civic education, obviously, rights and responsibilities come straight away. Now, other subjects, you have metal work, woodwork, technical drawing. All these things are interesting subjects where you know that the integration can be done. And our revision is still going on, and we still see wherever we see that it's important to integrate, it's been injected. So these are examples of subjects in which Aflatoun is being integrated. So how did it start? You know, we had this, as I talked about the entrepreneurship, we have developed an entrepreneurship framework. So the entrepreneurship framework was there. Then we had UNICEF came in to help the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. But before that, we had a help from the UNDP to develop that entrepreneurship framework. So we used the entrepreneurship framework, write a concept note to UNICEF, and then UNICEF came in to support. But even that, you know, we still use those teachers that we had in the pilot. We call them experts to sort of audit what do we have in our curriculum that deals with child and social and financial education. Then we'll see where best is fitting, and then that's how it is being done. Now here comes the partnership that we have with UNICEF. I will say a big thank you to ChildFund for bringing in the project. We're still working with them, but also thumbs up for UNICEF. For the previous speaker, we're saying thank you to UNICEF through you. So UNICEF came in 2019, and for them, their target was children on the move. So we used their initiative, Children on the Move, and they were able to help us with or support us with 32 schools. Okay, so before that, they came in to train 60 teachers across the country, 60 trainings. So they are called trainers. We have TOTs, and then later we use those TOTs to train 120 teachers, okay, across the regions, because we have 6 educational regions, okay. So you will see that we're still struggling with, because not all schools in the Gambia are doing Aflatoun. This is one of the challenges. So once that was done, you know, they were all trained on the teams that we have, you know, the 5 teams, all those things. So part of the training was for them to come up with plans or projects to imagine if they were to be supported, what do they want to do? So a list of things came in. So this was what we used together with our concept note to UNICEF, and we can say happily they were able to, you know, support 5 different projects. We have the projects as gardening, soap making, school canteen, and poultry. The reasons why we end up with this was because in gardening, when you subject them to the content in class, they can use the garden to enforce learning, okay? Now, when they go to the gardening, they can do a lot of things, you know, what do you do before you put in your seed, the texture of the soil, you know, that is all about agriculture, you know, and you can now see that integrating in agriculture will not be a mistake, because they learn the content in class, they can do the practical in the gardening. Okay, you come to soap making, the chemistry part of it also is there. We don't only deal with even those in the higher schools, you do the chemistry of soap making, you know, mixing, you know, that one also, you how many caustic soda do you put, how many water, how many that, all those is within the skills that you are learning. And once they do this soap making, what they do is,
Oh. Hello. Yeah, I think Fatou told me that the network had been dropping in the Gambia, so I think that might have happened again. Let's see what we can do here. Fatou, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're still speaking.
I think she's probably reconnecting.
I think I'm back now.
Thank you, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I was just talking about the importance of those integrations, so that the projects that we have, we are trying to reinforce the content of the content of the CF. So we had as I said, the soap making, the gardening, the school canteen also. They know what they normally do is to, you can see some of them, the school canteen, some of them, they sell or they cook, and then children, where they don't have food during break, they can go there and eat. Or others will just, like you see after school, they are putting sugars together so that they can sell, as you can see here. Okay, you can see them in the garden. Those people are making soap making. The other picture is just showing the materials that we have been given to them. And on the left-hand side there, you can see children in the doing banana plantation. And interestingly, you can see an Aflatoun teacher coordinator voluntarily doing a map drawing on the walls of their classroom, which is very, very, very interesting, because they also believe that child social and financial education, voluntarism is very important. You love where you are, and where they are is the school. So they take the school as their home. So this was very interesting. So these are some of the things that they are doing, as you can see in the picture. And also you have, during the teacher training, you can see them, during the teacher training, you can see that one of our trainers there. You can see the group discussions. We are going around to see them. You see them demonstrating, and then you see the making of Aflatoun sitting in a circle. We also have the UNICEF representative going around during the training to see what is going on. Okay, So these are some of the things that we do. And then the other table is just giving you some of the schools that are part of the trainings or part of the projects that they have. And then you can also see a picture of the poultry that they have. They just have a corner where they put it at the school and then they work on it. But unfortunately, when the pandemic came, everything just turned the other way around. But we accept that this is an international thing, as it is a pandemic, so we cannot avoid things happening. But interestingly also, as part of the skills that some of them had, one of them had to take the poultry from the school to her house or to where she stays, because she was not staying within the school. And at the school, she feared that maybe if she leaves it there, that proper care might not be there. So she willingly took the poultry to the house where she was. Then after selling, when school reopened, she went back and they are ready to start everything again. So these were some of the challenges that they have. The pandemic, that one is general. We need not to call it a challenge. And also, it's still something that has to roll out to, if possible, we want all Gambian children to be Aflatoun, because this is just maybe quarter of the schools of the Gambia that are enjoying that. That is why the integration is very important. Once it is integrated, whether you have Aflatoun club or not, when you go pass through the curriculum, you are Aflatoun. So in short, I would just say that is how it started, and the integration is still going on. So I thank everybody for listening, and I'm very sorry for the distraction because of the network. So I said with Aflatoun together, we can do it. So thank you so much. I wait for your comments and for your questions. I hope I have done justice to the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatou. Yeah. Sorry, sometimes the connection can be a bit of a hassle, but no, we persevered and we made it through. We're a little bit behind schedule now, but that's all right. I'll pass it over to Diana for a few questions and comments if anybody has anything to say.
All right, welcome.
Thank you, Tidjane and Fatou. If anyone has a question, feel free to unmute yourself or also write it down on the chat if you'd like.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Sorry, this is Fana's link, but I am Famara. I'm sitting with Fana.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, Tidjane and colleagues? I hope everyone is fine.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. I think I just followed Fatou's presentation. I think it's great. The things that were mentioned are great, and I can see very good results that are being registered as part of the work that they're doing with Aflatoun, which is excellent. I just wanted to observe that maybe I joined late, but I wanted to see how the partnership between the ministry and ChildFund or our local partners have been going on in all these activities that are being implemented. Maybe Fatou is already aware that ChildFund started Aflatoun in the Gambia as way back in 2010 when we launched this with the ministry, and we've done a lot of testing and it was evaluated until we brought in UNICEF on board so that we can have that consultative workshop where we try to mainstream Aflatoun into our national curriculum. So I'd just be interested to know how, going forward from 2019 to date, how the ministry is bringing on board other stakeholders, especially those who participated in the testing phase, the local partners that are in West Coast region and other parts. Because I did not see, in the presentation, I've not seen much mention about that. So I just wanted to see, maybe I missed it somewhere.
Can I come in? Oh,
yes, please.
Hello, good morning, Famara. Thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much. I just want to also tell you that we register and appreciate the work that ChildFund is doing. But to be frank with you also, I joined to be the coordinator at the level of the curriculum of late, maybe at June 2019, when UNICEF just picked up that support. So that was the time that I was given that responsibility. But notwithstanding, I've been chatting with Aliou Mar, because we were together at the international conference. So the collaboration with ChildFund is still on, because ChildFund had some federations that they are working with, and the collaboration is more vivid in region 2. But notwithstanding, it is a very good suggestion, and I don't know how best, maybe after this, if you are the focal person for the Aflatoun at ChildFund, we can still see how best we can sit over it and see to read that the collaboration continues. I am very happy to see you on board and know that you are at the ChildFund. So we can devise ways and means of collaborating so that this continues. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fatou. We have another question on our YouTube live stream. Why do you think that financial literacy is not embraced like a key unit in schools' curricula?
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for that question. I think in my presentation, I said that after the test was done, or after the pilot was done, we had a stakeholder consultation, because the curriculum, it's true that, you know, the curriculum, the ministry devised the curriculum, but the parents and stakeholders also have a stake in it. So once we share with them the review and the outcome of this pilot, we see to read that it is very, very important, and it is something that we have to embrace. But I have made mention that it was not possible, though, to have it to be a standalone subject. That is why the suggestion was to have it infused, and then that is what brought about this integration. But it is something very, very important. If we had had the chance, or if we had had the opportunity, it will be a standalone subject, so that it will still be. And the embracement also, though, it's like something that fall a bit, because as Famara said, when it came in 2010, for some time it was, Gambia was just like, it was something about to die. But, you know, thank God it's up now. And the partners, for now, we only have UNICEF and ChildFund that is partnering. So this could be an opportunity. Maybe we'll learn from other partners, how do they involve, like I've seen somebody speaking from the bank and all those things. So that is the reason, maybe the partnership and then funding and all those things is keeping us not to have it there. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're a little bit over time, so maybe we should move on to the next.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. No. Thanks, Fatou, for taking us a little bit into the practical implementation. It's great to see the actual in-school projects that they're working on and how it relates to the subjects the school subjects that has been infused into. So thank you. Thanks again. Right now, before we break off, because we have a little short break now, just for 5 minutes, I want to let you know we're going to be having the last presentation by Hannah Roditi, who's joining us from Social Movement Technologies all the way in the States. Thank you for waking up so early to be with us this morning. And really looking forward to that presentation. But first and foremost, as I promised everyone, we're going to have a quick 5-minute break. If we could all be back at 12:25, and then we'll kick things off.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. I hope you had a good 3-minute or 5-minute break, rather. Hope everybody's slowly but surely coming back. All right, I'm gonna kick it off now. And yes, I wanted to, before we start with the very last presentation, I wanted to once again thanks all the partners for joining. It's been a long year with everything that's gone on, but there's been a lot of efforts from the entire network to really make sure that we were able to continue the work that we do at reaching some of the most vulnerable with social and financial education programs. So I'm really grateful for that. And I wanted to put a challenge to all of you just to wake everyone back up again. If everybody can be ready to type this out, I'm gonna ask a question, and I don't know whoever's going to get the answer right first. I think everybody knows the answer. So the question is, in 2019, how many children and young people did the Aflatoun Network reach? If you can type that in the chat now. Anybody know the answer? I'll give you 5 more seconds. Everyone should know this. Oh, okay. Well, your time's up. I guess no one remembers. Maybe it's been too long. But we reached 10.5 million children altogether, and that's really, I think it's cause for we should be happy about the work that we were able to do. So I wanted to go ahead and thank all of the partners once again for all.
Tidjane, I think we lost your audio.
We cannot hear you. Now I can hear you.
Oh.
No, not anymore.
I think is it the earbuds? Maybe can you just not use the earbuds? That's working.
How about now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes? Okay, great. Yes, sorry. So I was just introducing Hannah Roditi from Social Movement Technologies. I know that some of the partners that we've just seen right now, of course, are from quite big organizations and from the government. And I think that all partners should, we all.
We lost you again, I think. Well, since Tidjane was introducing Hannah, maybe Hannah, you can start your presentation.
Yes, and I'd like to bring in my colleague, Nkosi Moloi, who is based in South Africa. Nkosi, are you there? Hey there.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Nkosi Moloi. I am the Movement Support Coordinator for Africa. So yeah, it's really nice to be here, and it's nice to hear about all the work that everyone is doing. I've worked with different civil society organizations to campaign for social justice before I joined the SMT team. And I've also helped to coordinate the national and legal task team of the Fees Must Fall movement, which is really a movement that fought against the commodification of education and saw education as like a human right rather than like a privilege that you had to pay in order to access. And we really challenge a lot of things, including how education in Africa is Eurocentric. So we were calling for decolonization. So it's like, it's really interesting to hear the conversation that everyone is having. And yeah, the work that we do with SMT is so important because like I remember even with FMF, what happened was in the first 2 days of the protest, we were rioting vandals. It was like the media completely delegitimized us and what we stood for and said that we were acting against other students' rights. And just with social media on its own, the power of social media, we were able to completely shift the narrative, and the world started supporting us, and the powers that be also started hearing us, and that resulted in Peace Not Fall being the biggest movement, the biggest youth movement since 1994 in South Africa. So social media technologies, social movement technologies does exactly that work of training people on how to use online and offline tactics to really put pressure on a power, they put pressure on a target and really change power dynamics. So yeah, Hannah, I think you can go on from there.
Do you want me to take this in terms of the polls, Nkozo?
Okay, I can do it, I think. So, oh great, they've been loaded. So yeah, we just want to do polling for a few minutes. We just want to find out how important is it for you to build people power to change government or business policies and practices. So like there's 3 options: very important, somewhat important. So you can just click on your screen and you would be able to choose your option. There's a few questions on the poll, so like you'd have to scroll down to see the other questions, and it won't allow you to press submit until you've completely it won't allow you to press submit until you've answered all questions. So yeah, I'm doing it with you as we go along. So how many staff does your organization have? And also we wanted to know more information about the different tools and tactics that you use to build your power base, and like how do you mobilize people? How do you make sure that you are heard? How do you get information out there? So yeah, you can choose different things on this one. You can, like, there's Telegram, there's mass texting, there's emailing, and if there are specific tools as well that you'd like to share with us that you use, please chat in and tell us. For mass texting, we use this platform or this tool. That would be really interesting for everyone just to learn what other organizations are doing. And the 4th question is, which of these do you use? This is more like about digital security. Do you use a password manager, email phishing training across your organization? Do you use Telegram or Signal, 2-factor authentication? And also, if you use none of these, please select none of these. And if you're confused about what these things are, chat in and ask us, what are these things? How do people use it? And yeah, it would be interesting to really learn about the different tactics and tools that people are using.
And also, if I can just jump in.
Yes.
Just real quick to add, yeah, it's very interesting listening to the discussion about what Aflatoun is doing, which was new to me. And I only think about, I think it's just an amazingly important thing to bring in something concrete that people, that relates to what people see is needed in their lives, or that they can apply learnings to, right? Learn through those things. And and then also just have a way to recycle, keep money local and help people build assets. And the task of getting government and agencies that may be bureaucratic and slow moving and not always super responsive to be more responsive oftentimes involves creating a louder voice, right, for these kinds of things. And so that's what all of these tools and tactics that we focus on and work with groups to become stronger at using, it's all about that. It's all about amplifying the voices of people who are often not heard, and helping to convey to government or corporations or whatever the target is, that it's important for them to move. It's creating it, it's making it in their self-interest to be responsive. I see 4 people have completed the survey. We're just gonna we're gonna wait a few more seconds. Yeah, there's more people, and we'll share the results and actually say a little bit before moving on about some of these things and why they're potentially useful and important. And in the meantime, we'd love folks to chat in. What is your experience with some of these tools or digital campaigning? Kindly reshare the page. So Calvin, are you not seeing the questionnaire, the poll that's popped up? I can't actually reshare it, but it may be, if you're not seeing it, it may be behind. You might have to minimize the Zoom, the screen that you're sharing, that I'm sharing, and it might be behind that. Okay, so I'm going to end this and share the results. And so very important, yeah, to build people power, to change government and business policies. And so then let's look at what people are using. So very few people are using any of these. A couple of folks are talking about mass emailing, mass texting, not just hardly anything really. And Telegram is a more secure way of communicating than WhatsApp. Mass texting is extremely interesting as a way to organize and campaign folks because everybody's got their phone. Tools to create online petitions, extremely useful now, increasingly so, because to build your list of who's interested and then be able to engage them further. Orchestrating Twitter storms is extremely important. A lot of government officials care a lot about Twitter. They recognize that things go viral with Twitter hashtags, and a lot of eyeballs see that across not just the country, but the world. So it's a way of getting, as Ngozi talked about, the Fees Must Fall campaign is just one more recognized example, but so many examples. Kenya had an amazing Twitter storm a couple years back where children's playgrounds were being sold off for developers. And there was a protest against that. There was brutality against children and families. This was all captured on Twitter. And that went so viral that it actually, the whole campaign ended up, as a result, completely changing government policy and protecting school playgrounds. There's just a lot of examples of things that are going on, but the media and officials really are responsive to Twitter. So the fact that no one here is orchestrating Twitter storms, to me, that's a huge, huge opportunity. Facebook Live, yeah, really, really useful tool. And in terms of digital security, so yeah, a lot of these things are very important and basic. And how important is it for you to get training on digital campaigning? or someone important. Okay, so that's really good to know. So I'm handing this back over to you, right?
Okay, I can do that. But like before, because some people are privately messaging me. So can I just quickly ask everyone to rename themselves? Because I see there's a lot of Tidjanes. So before we do this, can we just like quickly rename ourselves? So when you go to like participants, and you you can hover over your name, and then you can press like rename, and yeah, at least then we would know who is talking to who. But yes, please feel free to engage with us and like continue chatting with us, whether privately or chat to everyone. So yeah. So what you see on your screen right now, it's a spectrograph, and we really just want to know how comfortable people are. Well, not really comfortable, but are you confident with digital campaigning, and do you have lots of experience? So someone who's like confident with lots of experience would be more on the top right of the spectrograph. But if you're not really that comfortable, it's overwhelming, then you'll be more on your left. So we're going to annotate, and to annotate at the top of your screen, you should see view options. Chat in if you're struggling to see view options, but like you should see view options. So you then press there, you go there, and then you press annotate. And then we're going to use the stamp tool. So right at the top, view options, annotate, stamp tool, and mark where you are in the spectrograph. Are we finding the annotation tool? You can unmute yourself and just talk directly if you're struggling to find it.
Okay, view on the right side, it's clicked, but we have seen standard side-by-side speaker. Is it that view you're talking about?
No, it should be at the top of your screen. Is annotation enabled?
Yes, it is. Well, folks can chat in instead. So if you have very little experience or a lot of experience with digital campaigning, and if you feel more anxious or more confident, you can chat in about that. And I think we saw already though, as people answer the polls, and I'm seeing now, Nicole, you mentioned the polls, you just scroll. You have to scroll to see the other questions, but okay, so let's move on.
Yes. Okay, so in Africa, we're doing work with an organization called Women, and we are training about 50 activists across the African continent. We have like special sessions for them where they've selected certain topics that they wanted to be covered, and in those sessions we offer them both in English and in French, so there'll be simultaneous interpretation. All the materials will also is also translated from in English and French, and yeah, we're really working with them to build a team of African campaigners, of local campaigners, of local instructors who know the context, because most of SMT's work has been more global or more US based. So we're really working hard to build a tech stack for Africa and to build a team in Africa that understands the needs and also how movements in Africa engage power. And with this cohort, we are currently training about 50 activists, and it's really been an exciting opportunity to really learn and network across the board. And we do, besides having those sessions with them, we also have one-on-one technical support on different campaigns that they are running. So those are some of the services that that SMT offers. And I think I will hand over to Hannah now to just speak more on SMT's experience and some of the resources.
You know,
Yeah. So SMT has a number. I'll just click through and you'll have these slides, but and I'll actually add this to the chat. These are a bunch of different free courses. I just added the link to the chat. And thousands of people across the world, actually activists and staff members, have taken these courses. And then there's a lot more that are that cost something, but there's a lot that are free. We also run a 9-month digital campaigning certificate program that's very intensive, that these 50 staffers from across the continent that Nkozo talked about are participating in. So they have this 9-month program that is mostly North American. It has people from around the world, but mostly North Americans. And then special Africa sessions, 10 sessions just for Africans, separate and apart from that. This 9-month program, though, gives people access to, it's just very intensive. There's 35 live sessions covering the whole gamut of digital campaigning with access to all of our recordings, assignments, etc. And then over the coming 6 months or so, we'll be developing apprenticeships in designing, graphic design for organizing, as well as running ad campaigns for organizing. Nkozo?
Could you please continue, Hannah?
Oh, sure. So, yeah. So there's also a couple of groups that folks can join to get support from other digital campaigners. So there's the Digital Campaigning Facebook group that has about, I think, 1,400 campaigners and staff members of groups doing different kinds of, people power organizing work. And people are always asking questions in that and getting support from each other. So you're welcome to, and I will share the link for this here in the chat. That we also have Telegram channels that people can join, and this link will get you to those. And then some next steps. So there is a video captioning webinar that's coming up December 3rd, and I'll share the link to register for that. That's free. It's going to be very intensive. I think there's already about 700 people registered for it. There's also a survey that that people are filling out across Africa about what tools they're using, and we are going to be sharing the results of that with everyone who completes the survey, and that is going to help us to put together recommendations around a tech stack, a combination of tools that we recommend that groups use in this digital time. And then here's Nkozo's email and phone number. And if you're interested in collaborating in some way to strengthen the work that you're doing digitally, you can let us know. We're thinking about putting together a 10-session certificate series for Africa in the spring. And really that just depends on, have we found a sufficient number of groups to collaborate on that and to help fund it and to help recruit folks to enroll for it. So we're working on that. And finally, we are also recruiting for the Africa team, campaigners team of coaches and instructors. And so if you know of people who are really good, very experienced digital campaigners, we can hire them to work a few hours a month on the team. It's something that people can do kind of on the side. So I think, because unless you have anything to add, we could turn this back over to Tidjane.
Not much to add, really. Thank you so much, Hannah. But like, it's really thank you for everyone who's engaging with us in the chat, and I'd really like to encourage people to email me or reach out to me via WhatsApp using those details. And Abubakar, it's great to hear, and it's great to hear that you guys have experience. And I don't have your contact details, but like I've noted Abubakar and Amabe. So please just like chat in your contact details so that I can also reach out to you as well if you'd like to partner with us. Thank you.
And we're just happy to work with Aflatoun in any way that you all would find useful.
Great. I hope everyone can hear me now. Thanks, Hannah. Thanks, Ntokozo, for the presentation. Yeah, I think it's good to see exactly what these tools can do for all the work that all of our partners are doing around the world. So I'm glad we were able to have this discussion. And yeah, I'll again turn it over to Diana. I don't know if there's any questions or comments in the chat that we can go to.
We have a few comments on the chat. Several people requested for more information on the courses, and for example, Savannah Signatures mentioned that they use. Oh, sorry, I just lost the chat. Oh
yeah, I can see it here. The using mass voice messaging. Oh, okay. Ethel, would you want to share more about that?
Okay, so hi, Danny. So yes, like I said in the chat box, it depends on our target. It depends who we're targeting with the campaign. So, but then there's been a lot of times. I believe that looking at where we work from, our location, which is in the very rural parts of Ghana, we use frequently, mostly we use the voice messaging to reach our target or the public. And at the other end of it, so this is just a one-way communication for the voice messaging. But then we have also instituted or established a call center, which is called the Sexual Health Education Platform call center. And that's what brings in feedback from the target group. So about 3 or 4 years ago, there was, let's say, a governance project, and we needed to reach electorates in some districts. So we sent out the information, and the electorates had to get back to us with feedback through the She Plus call center. For also, currently I'm managing a project in partnership with UNICEF and COICA. What we are doing in there is also, Tidjane, that's where we're doing the life skills using the Aflatoun Plus manual. So we target 2,000 girls. That's what our focus target is. But then also, apart from that, we do some community engagement. And we also use these voice messages. So these groups are linked to the She Plus platform. So once they receive these messages, if they need any clarification whatsoever, all they need to do is to dial the toll-free number, and then they get back to us with feedback or suggestions as to, how to better our interventions and all that. So I think in brief, that's what we do at that with the mass voice messaging.
That's really interesting. And I would love to know more about the actual tool that you're using to do the mass voice messaging.
Okay, maybe after.
Yeah, maybe we can follow up by email, because yeah, these are examples of exactly what we're looking for, to be able to share your experience with other groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Afel. I'm looking to see if there's more questions in the chat. Any more questions or comments? There's a lot of I see a lot of emails being shared, and thank you for the link. So that's already a good sign. Okay. Well, I think that's yeah. There's no more pressing questions. If not, as Hanan Tokoza said, their emails are there. The link to the Google Docs, also the links to all of the resources and the trainings that they're running are there. Thanks to both of you for speaking. I think it's a very yeah, it's a discussion that we've been having pretty much all summer in terms of going digital. But for us, of course, it's been more so looking at how we're going digital in terms of the content and the educational content and the curriculum. But also I think this is a part of it that matters a lot. Advocacy. I'm sure this is everyone's 1000th Zoom call, so it's definitely the direction that we're going in. So yeah, thank you very much for presenting, and thanks to everybody who's presented today, Fatou and Tillmann as well. As I mentioned, this is the last regional session of the year. Unfortunately, it's been a great few sessions. I'm really glad that we've had so much participation from the network and from all.
We lost you again, Tidjane.
We're not getting you, Tidjane.
Okay.
Now I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on. My computer is having a bad day today. But I don't know if Patricia is with us today. She had a few words to say, but I know she's very busy. She's the Aflatoun Anglophone Africa Regional Board Representative. I maybe wasn't able to join in the end, but essentially what we were going to convey was just the message that this year we've gotten a lot of things done in spite of everything, and her message to us was really to push forward and to adapt to the new normal. She said it in our first regional preparation meeting. She said it. She wanted to say it again today. So hopefully that's what we can continue to do. As I mentioned, in early 2021, we'll be having the session, the strategy session. So in this session, we'll be looking specifically at the post-2020 strategy. It'll be done more so as a workshop. And again, we hope that everyone will be able to join that session. It's been a lot of fun. I'm glad that we were able to do all of these sessions in spite of the current circumstances. I hope everybody's staying well and staying safe and staying healthy. And yes, we'll be in touch and see you all very, very soon. And thanks once again for joining this very last regional meeting session.
Thank you, everyone. See you next year.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone. And may I take this
Bye.
opportunity to say Merry Christmas, since it's the last regional meeting. Thank you so much from the Gambia.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Merry Xmas. Thank you very much. See you next year.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.